everyone against something, and that thing that you galvanized everyone against, you've now partnered with. So, yeah, of course I understand it. It is hypocritical. It sounds hypocritical.
The golf world exploded in disbelief when Rory McIlroy grabbed the mic and dropped a bomb no one was ready for. Fresh off the fiery chaos of the 2025 Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black, Rory skipped the usual safe talk about team strategy or good competition. Instead, he unleashed something that sent shockwaves through the sport, sparking arguments in locker rooms, studios, and social feeds worldwide. So what did Rory say that had fans speechless and analysts in full panic mode? Could this wild moment actually change the future of golf forever? It all came crashing down on the 16th hole. The tension was thick enough to slice with a wedge. Bethpage was already buzzing with pride and rivalry. But when McIlroy, Europe's biggest star, faced a wall of hostile American fans, things went nuclear. Boos echoed, insults flew, and the crowd's energy turned downright venomous. Then it happened. Rory hit his limit. He backed off his shot, turned toward the stands, and yelled, "Shut the fuck up!" The crowd gasped. It wasn't just anger. It was a man breaking after hours of taunts, some cruel enough to mention his family and old failures. That outburst tore through the golf community like wildfire. Some fans cheered, calling it the most real moment golf's had in years. Finally, someone showing emotion instead of fake smiles. Others were horrified, saying it proved the event's atmosphere had gotten toxic and out of control. Even Europe's captain, Luke Donald, didn't hold back. He slammed the crowd's behavior, saying they'd crossed every line of sportsmanship. Reports claimed the PGA of America scrambled to issue a quiet apology and promised to crack down hard on fan behavior at future tournaments. Even with the noise, the heckling, and the chaos swirling around him, Rory McIlroy didn't crumble. He locked in like a man possessed. Team Europe marched into the final day with a powerful 11.5 to 4.5 lead, silencing anyone who thought the drama would break them. But the story? Oh, it was no longer just about birdies and bogeys. It became a full-blown cultural moment. Headlines lit up across the globe, dissecting every frame of Rory's outburst like it was a political scandal. The debate went beyond golf. Commentators questioned whether McIlroy's eruption was just a split second of frustration or a mirror reflecting something much deeper. Maybe the stress, the shifting loyalties, or the new money that's been shaking up the sport.
Oh, probably got a carry that's about 143.
Gotta amazing get a Gatwich that
Oh my
far.
goodness, wow. They're the first sign of the crowd getting to Rory.
Some even whispered that it exposed a growing identity crisis in professional golf, where legacy and cash are now battling for the soul of the game. Others defended Rory fiercely, saying it was refreshing, a rare glimpse of truth in a sport too obsessed with politeness and image. He didn't lose control, one pundit said. He showed passion and the kind fans can actually feel. That fire reignited a worldwide conversation about pride, pressure, and what it really means to bleed for your team. Luke Donald, calm but commanding, later stood by his star player. As captain and former world #1, he made it clear Rory's emotion wasn't rebellion. It was proof of his loyalty. He urged everyone to unite, reminding players that modern golf is full of shiny distractions and big temptations, and that staying grounded is the only way to survive. Meanwhile, across the American camp, feelings were split. Some players admitted they were shocked, while others, veterans of the same pressure cooker, simply nodded, understanding that what began as one fiery moment had morphed into something far bigger. A reminder that in golf, the line between pride and pressure, tradition and change is razor thin and ready to snap at any time. The storm that erupted after McIlroy's outburst didn't just fade away, it detonated a much bigger question. Has golf changed so fast that its old-school traditions can't keep up anymore? Analysts, players, and fans were all asking the same thing. Could the Ryder Cup, golf's holy war of pride and patriotism, even survive in this new world of player power, streaming deals, and billionaire-backed rival leagues? When the dust finally settled, one truth echoed loud and clear. Rory McIlroy had cracked open Pandora's box, and there was no closing it now.
Don't take my phone, Rory!
Social media went nuclear. Speculation, theories, and hot takes flooded timelines. Some said golf's balance of power had shifted forever, while others claimed this was the moment that would redefine what loyalty, money, and identity truly mean in the modern game. McIlroy's explosion didn't just expose his emotions, it ripped the curtain wide open on a deeper struggle that's been bubbling under the surface for years. For decades, the PGA Tour was the ultimate symbol of order and prestige, polished, disciplined, untouchable. But now, that iron grip was cracking. New leagues came crashing into the scene, waving sky-high paychecks and promising freedom like a golden ticket. Fewer tournaments, lighter schedules, and the kind of flexibility players only dreamed about. For aging stars nearing the end of their careers, those offers were impossible to resist. The quiet whispers about loyalty versus opportunity had now gone public, and the Ryder Cup sat right at the heart of that storm. Built on unity between the PGA and European tours, the Ryder Cup wasn't just a tournament. It was sacred. But if players started pledging loyalty elsewhere, the fallout wouldn't just shuffle rosters. It could rip apart the very soul of the event itself. The idea that golf's top names could wear rival badges instead of national flags sent chills through both camps. The US and Europe suddenly found themselves fighting for more than bragging rights. They were fighting for survival. Determined not to lose control, the PGA Tour went into overdrive. They boosted prize pools, loosened schedules, and gave players more say over their time. The message was crystal clear: adapt or collapse.
With all that in mind, everything you go through, how satisfying is it to turn around to someone and say, quote, "Shut the F up," and then stiff it to 2 feet?
Very satisfying.
The goal wasn't just to protect the tour's reputation. It was to prove that tradition could still thrive in a world where freedom, fame, and fortune are constantly colliding. Even after the PGA Tour's desperate reforms, the temptation of rival leagues just wouldn't die down. The magnetic pull of massive paydays and lighter schedules kept tugging at players who were now thinking way beyond trophies. Stability, family, and legacy. Those words suddenly mattered more than world rankings. And when Rory McIlroy spoke, it became clear. This wasn't just about one man's choice. It was about the direction of the entire sport. The next few months loomed like a ticking clock for golf's future. Every move from stars like McIlroy could rewrite the meaning of loyalty, challenge the idea of tradition, and even reshape what the Ryder Cup stands for. In the aftermath of his bombshell remarks, every headline turned toward him. What would Rory do next? He reaffirmed his loyalty to Team Europe, yes, but that shadow of temptation from rival leagues lingered close, whispering promises of freedom, fortune, and control. Then came the shocker. McIlroy publicly admitted he'd been approached by a rival league. In a sport famous for secret handshakes and quiet boardroom deals, that honesty was electric. Some called it bold, others called it reckless, but no one could ignore it. Fans praised his transparency, saying it proved he valued truth over politics. But behind the applause, murmurs spread like wildfire. Insiders feared his words could crack the foundations of team unity and force golf's power players into uncomfortable corners. And now, Rory stood at a true crossroads. The rumored offer on the table? Mind-blowing. Sources claimed it came with record-breaking money and a dream schedule, the kind of setup that could tempt even the most devoted loyalist. But taking it would set off shockwaves. It could cost him his standing on the PGA Tour, risk his Ryder Cup future, and even redefine how history remembers his legacy. Every path came with pressure, every choice carried weight. The kind that could tilt golf's balance forever. Yet through the noise, the whispers, and the headlines, McIlroy stayed remarkably calm. No tantrums, no theatrics, just that sharp stare and quiet confidence that said he knew exactly how high the stakes were, and that he was ready to face them head-on. Even after the PGA Tour tried to tighten its grip with all those reforms, the siren song of the rival leagues just wouldn't fade away.
Of not just a victory, but perhaps even a record victory. That came 4 years ago at Whistling Straits when the United States won by 19 points to 9 if they were to win 8 of the 12 singles matches on Sunday.
Players weren't just chasing trophies anymore. They were thinking about their futures, their families, and the kind of legacy they wanted their names to leave behind. McIlroy's words cut deep. because they hinted at a truth no one wanted to admit. These weren't just career moves. They were choices that could reshape the entire future of professional golf. The months ahead felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. Every decision from McIlroy and players like him carried the potential to rewrite the sport's destiny, and maybe even redefine what the Ryder Cup truly stands for. After his shocking revelation, all eyes locked on Rory. He swore his loyalty to Team Europe, made it clear he still bled for that flag, but the allure of those rival leagues lingered like a shadow waiting for its moment. Then came the twist. Rory admitted he'd been contacted by a rival league, and that confession hit golf like an earthquake. A sport built on polite silence and secret meetings suddenly had its biggest star speaking the truth out loud. To some, it was brave, a rare flash of honesty in a business drenched in politics. To others, it was risky, a move that could rattle sponsors, unsettle teammates, and force golf's power brokers to take sides fast. Behind the praise, whispers grew louder. Insiders muttered that his openness could spark locker room tension or push governing bodies into chaos. Suddenly, Rory McIlroy wasn't just a player. He was a symbol of golf's identity crisis, standing at the edge of something historic. And the offer? The rumors were wild. Eye-watering money, fewer tournaments, total freedom. The kind of deal that could tempt even the purest loyalist. But if he accepted, it would shake everything. His PGA Tour status, his Ryder Cup future, even his legacy itself. Every choice felt like a gamble that could tilt the entire balance of the sport. Still, through the headlines and hysteria, McIlroy stayed cool. Calm eyes, steady voice, no theatrics. The world kept guessing, but Rory, he looked like a man who already knew that whatever move he made next, golf would never be the same again. Draped in Europe's colors, Rory McIlroy stepped back onto the course like a man reborn. Every swing, every putt, every stare carried the same unshakable fire that's defined his entire career. Under pressure that would have cracked most players, he didn't just play, he owned the moment. That raw focus reminded everyone watching why Rory wasn't just another headline. He was the heartbeat of modern golf. But the months ahead weren't just going to test McIlroy's patience. They were about to test the soul of the sport itself. Every move he made from that point forward carried weight.
The PIF and the Saudis want to spend money in the game of golf. They want to do this, and they weren't going to stop. How can we get that money into the game, but use it the right way?
Heavy enough to reshape what loyalty means, redefine competition, and maybe even redraw the future of golf for generations to come. McIlroy's next step wouldn't just decide his career, it could determine where professional golf goes next. When that final putt dropped and Team Europe erupted in triumph at Bethpage Black, the cheers were deafening. But behind the noise came a deeper silence filled with curiosity and questions. The cameras weren't just focused on the trophy or the champagne spray. They were locked on Rory, because this victory came with an aftershock. Word spread fast. McIlroy had admitted being approached by a rival league. That one confession hit like a thunderclap across the sport, sending tremors through every clubhouse, media desk, and locker room around the globe. Within hours, it was everywhere. Headlines exploded, social feeds melted down, and golf fans worldwide were glued to their screens, dissecting every syllable he'd said. Who was at fault here? Was it the heckling crowd that finally broke his composure? The organizers who lost control of the chaos? Or was it something deeper? A sport cracking under the weight of its own traditions and unspoken rules? What started as a heated Ryder Cup flare-up had turned into something far bigger, a mirror reflecting the state of golf itself. The moment set off a firestorm of debate about professionalism, sportsmanship, and the growing tension between athletes and their audiences. Critics slammed certain sections of the American crowd for going too far, while others defended Rory, calling his outburst a human reaction to relentless provocation. It wasn't just about manners anymore. It was about emotion, power, and how far golf's old-world etiquette can bend before it finally breaks. Beneath all the noise and headlines, there was a deeper truth that finally started to surface. The brutal reality of what it means to live as an elite golfer today. These players are expected to perform with surgical precision, smile through chaos, and carry themselves with perfect grace, even while their emotions are boiling just under the surface. The pressure never lets up, not on the tee box, not in the locker room, not even online. Then came the bombshell that flipped the whole narrative. The sudden resignation of Heather McMahon, the event's MC, who had reportedly been linked to those taunting chants from the crowd. Her exit, whether she jumped or was pushed, became more than just gossip. It turned into a symbol of accountability, a message to every event organizer that golf's polite bubble had finally burst. The old era of soft claps and quiet fairways was fading fast, replaced by something wilder, rawer, and a whole lot harder to control. Even after the final putt,
it certainly crossed a line. Fans having to get ejected, Shane Lowry having to get held back by his caddy at one stage, expletive-laden abuse hurled in particular at Rory McIlroy.
The storm refused to calm. Every replay, every slow-motion clip, every fiery tweet kept the conversation alive. Pundits kept arguing. Had Rory McIlroy accidentally exposed a deep fracture in golf's identity? Was this a war between tradition and transformation, or just the price of modern fame? The sport that once prided itself on quiet respect was now being dragged into the same emotional chaos that defines every other global spectacle. Players started speaking up too. Some broke their silence about the toll life on tour really takes, the sleepless nights, the constant travel, the private doubts buried beneath those perfect smiles and shiny trophies. For once, fans saw the cracks in the armor, the side of golf the cameras rarely show, the side built on pressure, exhaustion, and the never-ending demand to live up to impossible expectations. McIlroy himself later admitted the week had drained him mentally and emotionally, but still, he stood tall, proud of Europe's unity and the professionalism his team showed. While the world tried to tear them apart, his openness gave fans a rare look into the soul of the sport, not just birdies and prize checks, but the unseen grind, the loyalty battles, the temptations, and the quiet resilience it takes to survive. In that moment, golf's mask slipped. And what stood behind it wasn't perfection or politeness, it was humanity. Even at the highest level, players like Rory are still human beings, vulnerable to doubt, emotion, and the crushing weight of the spotlight. And that honesty, raw and unfiltered, might just be what saves the game in the end. By the time the 2025 Ryder Cup wrapped up, it had become more than just a tournament. It was a full-blown cultural turning point. The event forced everyone, from casual fans to the sports power brokers, to confront what golf had turned into and what it still could be. Europe's victory wasn't just another notch on the scoreboard. It was living proof that focus, unity, and mental toughness can still rise above chaos no matter how loud the world gets. And Rory McIlroy, his story didn't end on that 18th green, it evolved. His honesty didn't close a chapter, it lit a fire. His words, his decisions, and his courage to speak truth when it would have been easier to stay silent echoed far beyond the fairways. He didn't just challenge golf, he challenged everyone watching to rethink what greatness really means. So now the question hangs heavy over the sport. What does define greatness? Is it tradition and loyalty? Is it chasing opportunity when it knocks? Or is it the courage to stand your ground, to follow your convictions, even when millions are watching and judging every move? Whatever the answer, one thing's for sure. Rory McIlroy's revelation changed the conversation forever. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you on the next one.